Welcome to J-Pop Kissa Take a Break. Picture this, a cozy table in a retro Japanese cafe, and you've just joined me here. I'm Terence, a longtime fan of J-Pop and Japanese entertainment, especially since the 90s. While we sip something warm, I'll share what's been on my mind about the music, dramas, movies, and more. Let's take a break together. So hi everyone, welcome to this very special episode of J-Pop Kissa. This is Terence again. I'm very excited today because today I have a guest with me who will share with us about a very special artist who is very multi-talented in so many ways. And she is Megumi Ogata. But before that, let me introduce my friend, my guest today, Kei.
Hi, Terence.
Hello, welcome.
Hello, everybody listening. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm Kei, most known online for cosplaying under the handle Top Hat Tiara. Like Terence, I lived in Japan for quite a long time post-college, almost 12 years, but I became a fan of Japanese media way back in kindergarten.
Yes.
I remember, waking up at 5 a.m. before school to watch Sailor Moon on TV in the mid-1990s. Of course, I didn't know it was something called anime. It was just a cartoon that I enjoyed. It wasn't until 2003 that I understood anime had its own genre when I watched the Toonami block on Cartoon Network and I got really deep into the anime Yu Yu Hakusho with my best friend. We were super obsessed, and it wasn't like nowadays where you can easily find and binge the rest of a series online. We had to tune in each day to find out what would happen and then wait over the weekend.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that because I can relate so much to that in many ways. And growing up, I was also influenced by anime and I watched a lot of the big ones in terms of course, Dragon Ball, but also Doraemon, the cat robot, and I remember not just loving the stories, but also the songs that were played throughout those series, and I can still remember them and the feeling that they would bring me. So I feel like we're always very influenced and brought into this world through anime. So I can definitely relate to that.
Definitely. And that music, when you hear it now, like the Japanese word natsukashi is like perfect for that, just capturing that sense of nostalgia.
Yes, and there's not a great word in English that can really capture that feeling of natsukashi, I feel.
Yeah, it's like it's weird if you just go, nostalgia. Like it sounds kind of weird in English.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Okay, so you loved Yu Yu Hakusho, which is something that I loved as a kid as well. And I may be jumping again a little, but one of the characters that I loved a lot was Kurama. And and I think we all know why, but I definitely want to hear your version
Well,
of how it
I'm
led to.
definitely
Yeah.
on the same page.
Yeah.
So this is a podcast, and we're talking about Megumi Ogata, who is the voice of Kurama. And I can speak a little bit about how I became her fan through that character and then her music.
Hmm.
So this comes back to the best friend I mentioned earlier. One day, I went over her house and she gifted me a CD that she had burned of Yu Yu
Hmm.
Hakusho songs she found on the internet. They weren't the opening and ending songs. Like, I love the Annie song, that sort of thing. They were what she called, they're like character songs.
Hmm.
So they're performed by the Japanese voice actors or seiyu. And my favorite character was also Kurama. And my friend told me, "You're not going to believe it, but he's voiced by a woman in Japanese." And I was like, I didn't know what to do with that information. I think it was probably not a positive reaction, but I wanted to be open-minded and I really love the character. So I remember I went to like animelyrics.com and I printed out the lyrics from there and I sat down, popped that CD in my CD player and I listened to the character song that was on that was called Kurayami ni Akaibara, which is Romantic
Hmm.
Soldier. Well, that's not the translation of that. That's just what they translate in the song title.
Hmm.
And I think it's an understatement to say it changed my life. I totally fell in love with Kurama's Japanese voice and I wanted to hear more.
Wow. Yeah. I would definitely want to ask you about what you just said now about, finding out that Kurama, which for those that don't know, it's a story about how to describe it in an easy way. It's
It's
about
kind of
the,
like a
yeah.
supernatural like investigation show. I mean, it's definitely it's like it's a shonen anime, but You know, Kurama would be like the Bishonen character, like the beautiful, like teenage boy.
Exactly. Who has a lot of hidden powers that we'll find out later, why. But he is a beautiful man, and and
Yes.
and he speaks like I have this image of him as like a prince. Like he speaks in a very polite way. And there's this whole story about him and his mother who is sick as well.
I
And
love that.
right. And for me, why do I like the good looking characters? And that's a different topic. But anyway, but then you discover that it's actually not a man voicing that character, but it's a woman, and you were surprised. Tell me a little bit more about what was going on in your head then.
Well, I think because in the West, and I'm going to say even in Japan at that point, so I'm going to speak from my perspective, but also culturally why it was surprising. So in America and Japan alike, it's not uncommon for women to voice like children characters like boys. Like, I mean, the Simpsons, Bart Simpson is voiced by a woman, right? So it was
Sure.
pretty
Yeah.
common in America and Japan to have women voice young boy characters or children characters.
Mm.
But Kurama was the first adolescent, like teenage boy that a woman voiced in Japan. Until Megumi
Mm.
Ogata did Kurama, it wasn't really a thing. But now it's like a standard of the genre. If you have the Bishonen character, he very often has a woman's voice. So I think because I wasn't expecting it, and also people in Japan at the time weren't expecting it, she really was very unique in how she appeared on the scene.
Mm. Do you know if what her thoughts were on playing the character? Because I remember reading something or watching, maybe it's like a behind the scenes show, how even she wasn't really expecting to play this character or something like that. Am I getting that right? Or do you know anything
Yeah,
about
no,
it?
that's definitely true. She was surprised when she was cast for the role, and I think
Mm.
because she was also relatively new to voice acting at the time, and if you're aware of how kind of Japanese society works, there's like a hierarchy within
Mm.
companies and then also within like spheres of influence. So to have like a young person and a woman be cast in like a main character role in like a Shonen Jump anime was
Mm.
really shocking. And so there, not everybody was nice about it, but so I think she had some not so great experiences, but the fans ended up really loving how she played Kurama, and it turned out to be like a really good thing that happened, even if there were uncertainties at the time.
Yeah, that was such an iconic character. But then it wasn't the only one that she's done, right? That in terms of
Yep. She
the
definitely went on to
influence.
play
Yeah.
many of the big characters. So she's very well known. She's famous in Japan now. Everybody would know Megumi Ogata if they watch any anime. So Kurama was in 1992. Then she went on to play Sailor Uranus and Sailor Moon. We talked about Evangelion earlier. She's Shinji Ikari in that. She's Yukito from Cardcaptor Sakura. And recently she's been Yuta in Jujutsu Kaisen Zero and Amane in Tsukasa in Toilet Bound Hanako-kun is airing at the moment.
Mm. Uh, I mean, if anyone's a remote anime fan, they must have seen at least one of these. And if not, obviously they should check it out.
Yeah,
But
we recommend them.
yeah, Shinji-kun, that's huge. That was another anime that changed my life in many ways. And, people think of it, if they haven't seen it, they think of it as about, robots fighting evil or something like that. But it's really about people connection in so many ways, right?
Absolutely.
And the way she played it, and how the main character Shinji has his struggle in himself with his father, with himself, and what his purpose, I guess, in a way. The lines that she's had are so iconic about how I can't escape, or I shouldn't run away, or that I remember that playing in my head a lot in my teens or even my 20s, thinking, oh, I need to be like that, which is very geeky to say, but it shows the influence that she's had. And it's not because just of the character, it's the way she played a character that made an impact. So that was something that's still something that it's really that I cannot forget about her acting.
Yeah, I think she delivers roles in a very memorable way. And that's something I
Mm,
really enjoy about her.
yeah, definitely. Okay, so obviously playing all these iconic characters, but you're also a huge fan of her music.
Yes. So I am, of course, a fan of the voice acting, but her music is sort of what moved her in my mind from just like, oh, like a seiyuu that I like to like, this is an artist I really admire.
Mm.
And I actually started to learn Japanese when I was 13 so I could understand her lyrics.
Wow. Yeah. So you started learning Japanese when you were 13. How did you learn Japanese in that? Yeah.
It was a Christmas present from my parents. They saw there was a Japanese tutor advertising at the library. So on Christmas morning, I opened up a box and it was like, "You get tutoring," which I maybe wouldn't be exciting for other kids, but it was really exciting for me.
Oh wow. Did you ask for that or did they just sense that
No,
you
it
were
was a
just
surprise. They must have seen me with my little English to Japanese dictionary trying to understand lyrics, and they're like, "Well, let's support her." And they figured, it's something good for me, so they're like, "Yeah, she can speak other languages," not realizing how useful it would be in my life, considering I lived in Japan later on.
yeah. And that's before the age of, online apps or different ways of getting things translated. I mean, obviously you could have, but you
Oh,
had to
no,
do
it's
it with a
definitely not.
dictionary.
Like,
Yeah.
kids these days, they're so spoiled. They just open their Google Translate and they scan the lyrics. I'm like, back in my day, we had to count the radicals and look it up in the dictionary.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, I just think it's really amazing how, the influence that anime and music have had on me too. And that's how I study Japanese. That's how we moved to Japan. Um, it's really changed our lives in so many ways. So it seems like, Ogata Megumi is one of those that played influence and is really changing your life's, trajectory in some ways, right?
Yes, that is exactly how I would word it too. So I
Hmm.
appreciate you understand that because you've been in a similar position.
Of course. Well, tell us a little bit more. Like, what is it about her? And maybe, I guess, in this sense, also her as an artist. Like, what do you love so much about her?
So at first, I became her fan because I really enjoyed her voice.
Mm,
I didn't understand a lot of Japanese when I was younger, but it was still fun to listen to her CDs because she had all these different voices. So, and voices in like quotation marks, meaning kind of like characters. So in the 1990s, there was like this big push for Seiyu to do work beyond the recording booth. They were expected to host radio shows, enter the
mm,
music industry, release photo books, and so many more things. So Ogata-san's early CDs were like an extension of her voice acting work. She was encouraged to sing songs that showed off her versatility and become different
mm,
quote unquote characters. So the songs told stories. For example, one song could be sung in a lower range to match a teenage boy who was like graduating high school, or there could be another song that used a higher range of hers who's like a young woman thinking about her crush and writing a love letter. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Because a lot of voice actors, I mean, I think there are different talents that they have. Some are really good with one voice, and it's so versatile in that way that they can apply to a lot of different characters. But there are those also that can really play a variety of different range that you can't even tell is that person sometimes, unless you're a fan or if you've watched enough anime. So I think it makes a lot of sense for me, Ogata Megumi, like the characters that we've talked about so much, I have a very strong image of that voice. Maybe it's a Shinji voice. Maybe it is Kurama in a sense. So I can really distinctly tell it's her. But you're saying that she also played different ages and different
Yeah, and
gender as well,
different
right?
different
Yeah.
genders. Because like I
Mm,
think she's definitely most famous for playing, young men, but she has played women roles. So she played like a girl in Vampire Princess Miyu, and she was
mm,
also the princess from Magic Knight Rayearth. And I don't think you would instantly recognize her as those voices because it's more the male voice that's really famous.
right. And I feel like it also ties into her background because I know she started out not as a voice actor. She actually wanted to do theater and
Yes.
musicals,
She
right?
was in a musical theater program, and I think that's the pathway she would have gone down, but she actually had an injury that made, dancing and being on stage harder. So her mentors there suggested she try voice acting out.
Nice, nice.
Thank you
Okay.
to them.
Yes. I mean, yes, the people that lay the seeds for us to pursue different things, but thank you for them to really bring her to all of us. Okay. So you mentioned about buying CDs. So tell us a little bit about your magical journey of music
Right,
with
my
her.
magical journey. So, like I mentioned earlier, I really liked her singing voice. And then I started to like her also as a person, a performer, more about the time when I was in high school when I finally got my hands on some CDs. And the CD I want to talk about in particular today is called Stop and Go. It was really challenging to buy CDs back then. I'm talking like these are the early 2000s. Everything you had to buy via a proxy service. And if a CD cost like 2000 yen, it could be up to $70 by the time you paid the fees and the EMS international shipping. And, my allowance was $10 a month, but I was very lucky. I had kind parents. And so from the time I was 13 to 17, they would gift me one of Megumi Ogata CDs on my birthday and Christmas. And the easiest way for them to keep track of my collection was to follow her discography. Well, I'm saying the wrong word. Discography.
Yes. It's a word they love to use in Japan.
Right? I'm just like, do we say this in English? By following, so yeah, the way for them to keep track of my collection was to follow her CDs in their chronological order. So while Stop and Go had been released in 2003, I got it as a birthday present in 2006, and I had no idea before it was in my hands, but the CD was a commentary on war and propaganda.
Oh, wow. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
a few different things I really want to talk about is that one, why do people still buy CDs still in Japan? It's partially because of this. Is like there is a sense of you want to collect, you know, items from the artist that you love, and in Japan now they call this in a way maybe oshi, like the
Oh, yes.
person that you're really
You're
pushing for, I
pushing.
guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Like literally, but you're just like really rooting for them. You're all like always admiring everything they do. So it's like owning those CDs have been such a huge part of this fandom of any Japanese artist. Even to this day, but also definitely back then when everything is imported, right? And I remember trying to get every single CD I would of the artists that I love, which end up costing a lot of money. And they're
Oh,
still
yeah.
sitting in my family home somewhere. And
Oh,
I'm
no, I
like,
have them
oh,
all too. I have them here. I have a
oh, nice.
stack of them. I have so many.
Yeah. So have you collected then all her albums or back then when you started?
I mean, it's taken over time, but I would say, yes, I've collected all of her albums and then also the cute little singles, like the mini discs they used to release in the
Yes.
90s. I have the mini disc and I even have some cassette tapes that were like fan club only release that I got off Yahoo
Yes.
Japan Auctions.
Oh, wow. Okay. So for context, in Japan, they're very big on singles. So they release singles like which are mainly there's one lead and then they call that the A side, and then they have like maybe two other songs or just as a single. And then once they release that, they collect them into an album or they add a few songs and then here's an album. So it's kind of like the reverse of what people would do in the States. But then in the 90s, especially, they love to release those singles that are really tiny. I forget how many inches is that. They would call this something.
Yeah, they're
Um,
like only like 3.5 inches, like
right.
across. They're super small and super cute.
Yeah. Which actually you could have played in a Discman or a CD player. Not necessarily now if you like have to put them in and it'll slide in. I don't know how you do that. Yeah, actually, I think you should buy an
Yeah, it's
adapter.
got to be a proper one that has a space for the mini disc.
Yes, yes. But owning them was really cool because they're so tiny and the thing that they hold a CD in is actually like a long sleeve or something in a
Yeah, and
sense.
it usually has the lyrics and maybe a picture or something inside.
Yes. Oh, I'm getting. I now I want to check out my collection. But okay, so
Natsukashi!
Natsukashi. Yes, that's the keyword hashtag today. Um, so great. It's some great, amazing how your family supported you through your fandom. And then and the CD you found out was about war and propaganda, which it makes
Yeah.
sense if we think about when it came out.
Definitely. So, like other Japanese artists, Ogata-san's albums always contain lyrics within the little CD booklet cover. And I was really surprised to flip through it and I found a letter written in English in the back of it, which I had not really seen any English in her albums before then, maybe just the occasional lyric. And it started with the words, Dear someone somewhere in this world. And she shared that the CD was written about what humanity was going through at the time. So, the consequences of 9/11, the war in Iraq, falsification of history. She didn't claim to know what was wrong or right, but she had a lot of questions. And she hoped that by writing songs from different perspectives or singing songs from different perspectives, she'd be able to gain some insight and answers. Then she went on to say what each song was about and why it was included. The CD left a dramatic impression on me, and it changed how I viewed the world.
Mm. I this is something that I'm finding really surprising in a very good way because I sometimes feel that there are pockets of Japanese music where the lyrics are very standardized um, in the messaging. There's a lot of "I want to see you" or "the sun will shine tomorrow," "the wind is blowing," like something very simple, but they're all very beautiful. I that's what I love about Japanese music is that they're simple to the point that you can really resonate and there's something you can get out of it. But to really have a strong message of what she wanted to do to influence, it sounds like, but also have a message to someone in English. I think that's really wonderful. And I'm just imagining the young you reading that as if it's
Yeah.
addressed to you, right?
That's certainly how I felt at the time. And I
Yeah.
later on, when I was much better at Japanese, I did write her a fan letter about that CD and how it changed my perspective because I think we can definitely fall into any of us all around the world, right? If you're in your local community, you're in your country, and so you're only getting news and perspectives from other people who are the same as you. It's gotten better now, I think, with social media, you get more perspectives, but at that time it was like, well, what other newspaper do I have but the newspaper from my town? So getting that outside perspective, perhaps on my own country's actions, was really eye-opening, and I think that I really appreciate that her about her. I really appreciate that about her.
Yeah.
And since then, Ogata has continued to speak up about topics that many Japanese celebrities might shy away from because, they don't really like to rock the boat. People tend to they'd rather not comment than comment, basically. But she's somebody who's really unafraid to share her opinions and experiences. Just an example I can think of off the top of my head for recently. Um, she posted a video when she got her COVID-19 vaccination
Mm.
because there was a lot of anxiety in Japan about whether or not it was safe. So she wanted to show, like, oh, like, I'm doing it, it's totally safe. And another thing I really love is she's very vocal and supportive for her LGBT fans,
Mm.
which, queer rights are not amazing in Japan. So it's nice to feel like, oh, somebody I admire would also like support me. So yeah, she's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
And it shows how aware she was about her sphere of influence and the impact that she can make on not just Japan but people around the world. And I think it's being very aware of her fandom, obviously. But as you say, before the time when people can easily go online and connect with each other, she was already doing that through her work. And obviously getting someone like you to actually receive that message and then ultimately writing her again. I think that's really powerful. Did she ever write back?
I got a postcard back. Like I don't think it wasn't like personalized, but it was
Hmm.
still like, the picture and the little like printed message with the signature on it. So,
Oh,
but I mean, this is not connected to that, but I have been fortunate enough, like, because I joined her fan club when I was in Japan, and she would have like concerts and a couple of fan meetings. So I have been lucky enough to talk to her and tell her directly, the impact she's had on my life. And she's been very wonderful back to me.
oh, that's so wonderful. I think that's part of why we wanted to move to Japan too. Is just so be closer to everything that's happening. Um,
Definitely. I sure miss that. I sure miss being able to go to the concerts, but we can travel, right?
yeah. Yes, yes. The world is not that big. We can make it
Mhm.
happen again. Okay. Well, we definitely can feel how she has been such a big influence on you. But for people that may not necessarily know her anime, or they have seen her anime but have not really listened to her music, what do you think people should know about her?
I guess what I would really love for people to know about Megumi Ogata is that she's someone who understands the miracle of our existence. It's clear in her music and her lyrics, and in her public works and in her actions, that she's someone who understands the challenges and grief life can bring, and she wants to give people comfort and courage to overcome those hard days through her work and art. For example, within the voice acting industry, she's making an effort to change the work culture through advocacy. And in 2019, she started her own tuition-free training school for seiyu called Bareboat with other professionals like the actress Azuki Mashiba and the singer Kawamura Yumi. Ogata-san's also evolved her music over time away from those quote-unquote character voices and love songs into what she calls life songs. She writes music and lyrics with her band to support the human spirit. She calls this genre of music eruroku, or yell rock. To paraphrase her from an interview in 2018, it's music to encourage people. She wants to give power to anybody who is listening, like a gentle push against their backs, and to deliver a message of support.
I love that. And when I first heard the term yell rock, I was thinking in the English meaning of it, which somehow imagine her going really hardcore and,
You're
and
like
screaming
screamo
over
or something, but it's not. It's
exactly.
not that.
It's not. And I was listening to a song, oh, it's like, oh, it's very positive and it's not as intense as I thought it would. But
Yeah, it's
listen,
more poppy.
yeah, but hearing the word again in Japanese makes a lot of sense because in Japan, eru, yell, is really a message about support, about really helping people continue to move forward and be positive in whatever outcome that may be. I love that that's the kind of music that she wants to make. What do you I mean, if you know, like what do you think was the trigger or the moment that caused her to really change from the character voices to this kind of music that she wants to make now?
I it's not me guessing so much as like having read interviews and listened to her speak over the years. It was less that she decided to pivot and more like she felt she needed to because only performing as a character and not being her authentic self was starting to weigh on her. So she was getting burned out on doing that. She thought about quitting music. The album Yoake no Jikan, I think it was 2009, was going to be like her last album. And then I guess after some reflection and listening to fans and listening to people she admired, she decided, okay, maybe I don't want to quit music, but I want to do it in my own way. And so that's how she started, writing. Because she had also written lyrics previously, but again, it was sort of based on the character. But now the new lyrics were from herself, and a lot of them are also written by her bandmates. So yeah, it was her way of like owning her own voice again and expressing that and delivering a message that she was very passionate about.
Mm, that's wonderful. I imagine how it is sometimes very difficult for voice actors in Japan because that's such a big part of their work now. And obviously back then as well, but I think even more so now when you're becoming a voice actor, you have to learn how to sing, you have to know how to dance and perform, you have to look the part. Whereas it was so much more about the voice back then. So I imagine just the pressure that she must have had. But she didn't let go of that part of herself or that she does enjoy making music and really bring that into what she's making now. I think that's really wonderful. Okay. So today on Station Head, we listened to three songs from her. Um, and on this podcast, can you introduce us to the songs that you picked?
Yes, it was so difficult to choose which songs to share today because, as you can guess from what I've said so far, she has a lot of music and it all means a lot to me. And I had to dig through 30 years of music I loved that's full of like that natsukashi feeling and pick only three. So I decided to choose one of what I'd call the quote unquote character voice song and two of the yell rock songs. So the character voice song is from the album Stop and Go, the album I mentioned earlier. The music and lyrics were written by the late Ritsuko Okazaki, and the song I chose is Can You Hear Me? It's a song about lovers who've been torn apart by war, and it's from the perspective of the man who's serving on the battlefield. In the little lyrics booklet I mentioned earlier, Ogata-san wrote about the song. I tried to express and put into words the feelings of a soldier who has probably never once said I love you from the bottom of his heart when he was in his homeland. And that's what she said about that song. And I feel that the song beautifully conveys regret, longing, and a wish for survival. It's the counterpart song to Tada Ashita no Tameni, which is the track before it on the same album that tells the woman's side of the same story.
Oh wow, that's really beautiful. Is it from an anime or
No,
something
they're
or
just
just
like I guess like so character songs can be from actual characters who are on, you know, anime and stuff. So there, for example, we talked about Shinji earlier, and when she released an album in 2021, she actually wrote a song from Shinji's point of view. It's an unofficial character song. But when I'm using character songs in reference to her original albums, they're also kind of original characters. So this is like an
hmm.
original character who's at war.
Yeah, in some ways it also plays into her past as a musical actor as well, where she is singing from different perspective. But it sounds really interesting that there is another song before that where she's singing from the other perspective. Does she bring a different kind of nuance to the two songs or
I mean, they're very different voices.
mm,
So I would definitely say like so if you listen to I mean any album like prior to like 2009 is going to have a big variety of voices, but I think Stop and Go is a great example of just how like versatile her voice is. So there's like songs from children, like children's perspective on there, women, men, like and then so many different like walks of life. So just like, representing everybody who could be going through the same situation we were. So yeah, that's why I chose it because I thought it's a good example of what I would call those character songs.
mm. What I really liked about this song, especially with the context that you share now, is that I would imagine it being very emotional and in a way very dark because if you're thinking about potentially leaving someone behind that you love, especially when you've gone to war, it may not turn out well. But the song itself, it almost seems very protective and also soothing in a way.
Mhm.
And I imagine that's like the message that the character wants to bring through. So I really love the lyrics in that sense.
And
Okay.
these are lyrics that you can find translated on the internet if you search for them. Not all
Yes,
of them have
indeed.
translations, but this is one that does. So if you are somebody who doesn't understand listening, please check it out. You can definitely listen to them and read
Yeah.
along.
Or just like how we've done it back then, anyone can also bring up a
It's
dictionary and
true.
translate
Very
word by
true.
word.
You can translate them or just go based off of vibes.
True, true, true. But there is something really wonderful about like knowing it part by part and then somehow you're
Mhm.
putting that together. And it's like, oh, this is what this means.
You get the whole
Versus,
story.
yes, versus just like one click of auto translation. Um, but okay. So that is the first song that we listened to. What about the next songs?
So the next two songs are examples of yell rock songs, and I chose them based on how I experienced hearing them live at Ogata-san's concerts. They're ones that really got the crowd invigorated, and they were really fun to sing along with, jump up and down, and wave our pen lights. They really make me feel another Japanese word that is useful to know is genki, having energy and health and well-being. If you looked up online, you'll see the lyrics are written by EM::OU::MO. That is Megumi Ogata. She uses MO as the name she uses for lyrics and music. The
Oh, okay.
first, oh yes. And the first song is Nobody's Perfect from the album Rebuild in 2012. And the second song is called Try Out Go On from the 2021 album Gekiraku Dramatic Medicine. So Dramatic Medicine was the first album Ogata-san released post-COVID, and it speaks to the power of music to reunite and heal us. I remember when she was finally able to have a concert for this album, this song in particular hit really hard. There's a point in the lyrics where she kind of says like more softly than other lyrics like ikite kurete, thank you, like thank you for
Mm,
like staying alive, thank you for getting to this point. And that lyric always like just moves my heart in a particular way, and I really feel like I mean, we all know how hard it was getting through that. So just like for her to acknowledge and be grateful that we're all here together, that we're able to sing together and enjoy music together. Really, I really love it a lot. And as you listen, I'm sure you can imagine what the audience callbacks are and, how we might be waving our pen lights. So it's really great. It's great on the album and it's really great to hear live. So yeah, I hope that when people listen to them, they'll feel like they're ready to go out and face the day.
there's something really magical about being in that environment where you're in community and it's all bonded by your love for this artist, but the artist is also recognizing your emotion and your experience and bringing us together. And then imagine when she sang that, no, 生きてくれて thank you. It's gonna be that I am acknowledged and I am being recognized for everything I've been through, and it's okay, and we're here together, and that's really powerful.
Yeah, it was really, really beautiful. And I mean, I'm sure I think it must have been the same in America. I don't know. But I mean, as somebody who also went to attend lives in Japan, there was a period of time where we weren't allowed to sing along and we had to all wear masks and so to be able to create that environment and experience despite the restrictions, I think really
Mm,
speaks to the love between fans and also the artist.
yes, and also how you may have had to leave a seat open next to you or
Hmm.
something that yeah, that was very interesting times. So it was great. So you were able to see that in person then.
Yes, I've seen it many, many times. It's one of my favorite songs that she does.
Oh, that's wonderful. I also really like the other song Nobody's Perfect. Because look at the lyrics, it's not just words. Like she even puts an emoji at the end as well. When she's basically saying, "I'm going to look after you. I'm going to be looking over," and it's like a victory, like a V sign with a smile, and that's I imagine if I were a huge fan, and I feel like I am becoming much more of a fan now.
Yay.
That oh wow, she's looking after me. That's awesome. But it's also about that obviously you can be you, and no one else can. And I love how in part of the lyrics where she says, 自分をやれるの自分だけなのに, and the way and it talks about how um only you can play you in a way. And I love how she's using the like the playing as if it's like a character you're playing, but in a way that you can only be yourself. I love that play on the word as well.
Yeah, I really appreciate the way she delivers with lyrics that way. So I'm glad that you also could appreciate them.
Yes, yes. I mean, definitely I didn't know of Yale Rock before this. And I think that's the power of music that I'm always looking for in the music that I listen to. So I definitely continue to check out her other songs. These are really wonderful selections. Thank you for bringing to this podcast. I
My
really
pleasure.
enjoy
Thank
them.
you for allowing me to share my love of this music and Megumi Ogata with you.
Yes. Anything you want to share before we close out today about her and also about yourself?
Well, for Ogata-san, I would just like to share with everybody that her albums from the 1990s are not available for streaming. You can do the Yahoo Japan auction route for that if you're so inclined. But if you do want to hear more of her songs, she has a sample of her early songs on the anniversary CD called Early Ogata Best. And she has two anime Goo CDs, which feature covers of anime openings and endings. Anything released from 2012 onwards is Yell Rock, and those are available for streaming. They're on Spotify and Apple Music. But if you do really find you enjoy the music, I invite you to purchase your very own copy of the CD. They always have really pretty pictures inside, the lyrics are all written in there, and that supports an artist much more than, the itty bit of yen you might get from streaming. And if you find yourself in Japan, definitely check out if she's having a concert. She always has a concert one of the last days of December. So she wants people to like shuck off the old year and welcome the new. And she always has a concert on her birthday, which is June 6th, the same as Shinji's. And she often hosts something called M's Bar. But M's Bar is not her music. It's she and her band do just covers of like, Queen and other 80s rock. And it's a fun, like casual time. She and her band are super fantastic, very entertaining. I always love watching them. So I hope that you'll also enjoy her music. And I don't know what to say about myself. If you like cosplay and nerding out about other things, you can come follow me on social media. I am top hat underscore tiara on Instagram and with a hyphen on Blue Sky.
Yay, thank you. I definitely think that sometimes when an artist has been around for this long, and the way you talk about how it is hard to get some of her older music, that it can feel overwhelming to become a fan. I want to just point out that it's okay to start anywhere. Obviously, the streaming options are good. You can still find CDs or find work somehow. That's part of the fun and the discovery. And that's how we did it back then. Not saying
Yeah,
we are old.
join us old people in how
I
to discover
know.
music.
Not saying that we're old and it's like 8 decades ago, but in some ways it is. But that's the joy. And when you finally get that CD in your hand and you can play that, obviously you can burn that CD or what do you call it? Import that music into your Mac and put it on your iPhone, however you do it. There is something wonderful in this discovery. So I think Japan is a really wonderful place to do that. And you get all these amazing goods that come with the CD. And sometimes they have special tag alongs, or what do you call them? Like they
They
make,
do.
you know,
It's like sometimes they'll have like a promotional, like if you order from like Animate, you'll get a poster with it. Or, you might get, if it's like at a concert, you might get a pen light or like a little towel or something. You never know what things you might get with physical media.
exactly. So definitely recommend everyone checking her out, as well as her anime. Obviously, Jujutsu Kaisen has just announced that they're coming back next year, and her character will be featured once again. So more moments to hear her voice coming up.
And Toilet Bound Hanako-kun is currently airing as well. So there's new episodes dropping every week. I have to catch up. I'm 2 weeks behind, but it's another great like supernatural like urban legend one, kind of like Yu Yu Hakusho. So if you liked Yu Yu Hakusho, you might also like Toilet Bound Hanako-kun.
Exactly. And Evangelion, I think, is celebrating their X anniversary. Maybe it's their 30th, right? 30th. Yes. They're doing a revival of all the movies from the old series and also the rebuild in Japan soon, which I'm assuming they'll somehow bring it here as well. So, I mean, if you're in
I'm
the US, if you're
sure.
listening to this, wherever you are, it's also another chance to hear her voice and her evolution throughout the
Hmm.
years, and the different layers that she continues to bring to the character. So lots of good things for you to discover. But I think we'll leave with that. Um, well, okay. Thank you so much for taking the time to share with us about Ogata Megumi. I have a feeling there's so much more we can learn from you about her, and also a lot of different genres of music and actors and artists. If you're ever open again, we would love to have you. But it was really
Thank you very, very much for having me. I would love to come back and talk more about the shared passions we have in Japanese media. And thank you, everybody else, for listening today. I hope you enjoyed hearing some new music, and you'll continue to enjoy hearing more wonderful sounds and songs on Terence's podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yay!
I'll be back soon with more to share. Until then, take care and enjoy your next cup of J-pop entertainment.